Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. How's it going, everybody? I hope you are happy, and I hope you are healthy, and I hope you are safe. Okay, so on today's Idiomatic Expression Podcast, we are going to look at only two expressions related to the word cake. So first and foremost, do you like cake? What type of cake do you like? What type of cake do you hate? And when do you eat cake? These are just some very important questions in life. Well, my name's Ronan, and I absolutely love cheesecake. I love ice cream cake, but I am not a fan of regular birthday cake. I'm not a fan of dry cakes, for example, or a nut cake. I have no interest in those. Anyways, before I ramble on for too long and you lose interest, we are going to talk about a piece of cake and a slice of cake, because there's a major difference between them. So sit back, relax. The first expression, a piece of cake, and the second expression, a slice or share of the cake. Coming at you right now. Good morning. Alright, today we're looking at the idiomatic expression, a piece of cake. So, a piece of cake means that something is easy. It means that you consider something to be very, very easy. For example, I think the IELTS exam is a piece of cake. Well, of course I think that. I'm an English teacher and I have been teaching it for 5 years. The IELTS exam is not a piece of cake for many other people. For example, when was it? Maybe 3 or 4 years ago, myself and my partner were becoming permanent residents of Canada. Now, in order to become a permanent resident of Canada, you need to do a language test to prove that you speak English. So, for me, the language test was a piece of cake. It was a walk in the park. There was no trouble, no difficulty with it whatsoever. I have done hundreds of these. I've helped students do these exams. First, I think it was absolutely crazy how we both had to do a language test on account that we are both from Ireland. We have both been to university, and we're both fluent speakers of English. Anyways, that's not here nor there. So, the reason I said that was because my partner, she did not find the exam a piece of cake. It was actually a little bit difficult for her. And why is that? Well, because the exam is an exam. Exams are not good. I personally hate exams. I don't think we should have exams. I do not believe exams show any reasonable level of intelligence. So if you pass an exam, it does not mean you're smart. That's what I'm trying to say. So anyways, she had to do the exam and it was not a piece of cake. She actually found it a little difficult. And that just shows how bad exams are. So for me, that exam was a piece of cake. But for her, that exam was actually a little bit difficult. All right. So another example of a piece of cake, it basically means like it's no problem or something is a breeze. If something is a breeze, it's really easy. That test was a piece of cake. That test was a breeze. And because it's almost like an adjective, we treat this like an adjective. So, the exam was a piece of cake. Don't worry about that exam. That exam is a piece of cake. I have an exam next week, but I'm not too concerned because it will be a piece of cake. So, my name's Ronan. And for me, swimming across a lake is a piece of cake. But not everyone can say that. Because what I think is a piece of cake, you might find difficult, and vice versa. So think about something that you're really good at. Think about something you've been doing for a long time. Think about something that for you is a piece of cake. Now say it. Say what is a piece of cake. My name's Ronan, and sketching pictures of people is a piece of cake for me. It's something I've been doing for a very long time. I don't show anyone my art. It's personal. I like to do it for me. You know what else is a piece of cake? Baking bread. At the start of COVID, at the start of the pandemic, I was a baker. Oh my God, I was baking bread all the time. I'd wake up, I would make a fresh loaf, and by noon I would have eaten that loaf. And then I got really fat and bloated, so I decided, you know what, let's cut back on the bread. But the message is that baking bread is a piece of cake. So right now, repeat. Learning English is a piece of cake. When Ronan is your teacher, learning English is a piece of cake. Say it. When Ronan is your teacher, learning English is a piece of cake. Think back to when you were in school. If you went to school, I don't know. Think back to when you were younger. What was a piece of cake for you when you were a kid? For me, mathematics was never a piece of cake. Mathematics was always impossible for me. I hated mathematics. Anytime I had a mathematic exam or anytime I had math homework, I freaking hated it. I'd sweat. Sometimes I'd cry because I found it impossible. For me, mathematics is not, was not, and will never be a piece of cake. But my dad, on the other hand, mathematics is just too easy for him. Mathematics is a piece of cake for my dad. I definitely take after my mother. She's terrible at mathematics. For her, mathematics is certainly not a piece of cake. For her, it's impossible, and for me as well. I am definitely a more creative person. I'm definitely better with my hands than doing mathematics on paper. So everyone has something that is a piece of cake. And it's not necessarily a cocky thing. It's not necessarily a vain thing. It's more like an honest opinion, an honest self-evaluation. You know, maybe if I have a student and they get 98% in an exam, I might say to them, well, this was a piece of cake for you. But for John over there, it was not a piece of cake because John is lazy and doesn't study, for example. So, long story short, a piece of cake is something that is easy, something that you find easy. For me, blah 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 is a piece of cake. But for John, blah 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 is not a piece of cake. Think about your friends, your family. Maybe you have no friends. It's okay. For a long time I didn't. So think about your friends, families, or TV characters. What is a piece of cake for them? For example, in the TV show Breaking Bad, science is a piece of cake for Walter White. But for Jesse Pinkman, science is not a piece of cake. Chemistry is not a piece of cake. Now for Jesse Pinkman, slinging methamphetamine, slinging drugs is a piece of cake. But for Walter White, slinging drugs, selling drugs is not a piece of cake. He has no idea how to do it. Why would he? He was a teacher. For any of you that don't know, I'm talking about the TV show Breaking Bad. You must watch it if you haven't. If you haven't watched it, I'm not happy with you. I'm a little pissed off, to be honest. But it's okay because you still have time. Breaking Bad, watch it. Long story short, it's about a teacher, a chemistry high school teacher who gets cancer, can't afford to pay for cancer, so he starts cooking up some methamphetamines, some meth, crystal meth, which is a very dangerous and addictive drug. And he gets the help of a young man called Jesse Pinkman. So they're like the two main characters. And when I said, for Jesse, slinging weed or slinging drugs is a piece of cake, to sling is like a very slang term for selling drugs. So, a piece of cake. Blah, blah, blah is a piece of cake. Blah, blah, blah was a piece of cake when I was a kid. Blah, blah, blah will be a piece of cake. There you go, folks. A piece of cake. Something is very easy. It's not a problem. It's a breeze. One more example, it just came into my head. Driving automatic cars is a piece of cake. I don't know about you, but I grew up driving manual cars. You know the one where you have to shift the gear yourself? Well, that's what I used, and that's what I learned to drive on, and I'm thankful. But now that I'm living in Canada, those cars are not popular. Those cars are not popular at all. So, since moving to Canada, of course I've gotten used to driving automatic cars. And of course I've almost forgotten how to drive a manual car. So for me, driving a manual car was a piece of cake. But now driving a manual car is not a piece of cake. Okay, folks, that is it for a piece of cake. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so now let's talk about a share or a slice of the cake. My name's Ronan, and I demand a bigger slice of the cake. So a slice of the cake is a portion of the money or profits that are being shared by everyone involved in generating them. It's part of the profit or benefit of something, part of the amount of something that is available. For example, the employees applauded when the boss announced that everyone was getting a slice of the cake in the form of a holiday bonus. Isn't that nice? In a perfect world, if your company does well, you should get a raise. You should get a bonus. And we would call that bonus, we would call that raise, that extra money, a slice of the cake. You know, third world countries are finally discovering how their natural resources have been exploited by the rest of the world, and now they want a bigger slice of the cake. And me, I couldn't agree more. People are calling for more transparency in the supply chains for tin, tantalum, and tungsten. What are those? Well, if you have a cell phone, if you have a smartphone, if you have a computer, a laptop, a tablet, you have those minerals. These mineral ores, as well as gold, are key elements of electronic products, including cell phones, as I said. They are the principal source of revenue, unfortunately, for armed groups and military units that prey on civilians in eastern Congo. The people, the innocent people, the people who mine it, the people who get these minerals for our electronic devices, they are not getting any slice of the cake whatsoever. Is that fair? Absolutely not. It's disgusting. And we've let a system develop where they don't get a slice of the cake, but we benefit from it. So imagine Apple decided to go and give the Congo a fair or a bigger slice of the cake, like to the people. That means they would give their profits. They would give some of their profits to the people. To the people who work in the mines. To the people who get the minerals for us. Speaking of Apple, I thought of this great example, and I'm just going to read a little bit here for you. On the 29th of August 2016, after a 2-year investigation, the European Commission announced Ireland granted illegal tax benefits to Apple. The Commission ordered Apple to pay $13 billion plus interest in unpaid Irish taxes from 2004 to 2014 to the Irish state. It was the largest corporate tax fine in history. On the 7th of September 2016, the Irish state secured a majority in Dáil Éireann, which is where we do our parliamentary business, to reject payment of the back taxes, including penalties, which could have reached 20 billion euros or 10% of the 2014 Irish GDP. That pissed a lot of people off. You know, it drove people crazy. The Irish people were in the midst of a recession, and the government decided not to follow up on Apple for this. The government decided not to collect taxes from Apple. The Irish public wanted a slice of the cake that was ordered by the EU to be given to them. And even now, even today, Apple are still doing business in Ireland, and they are getting away with paying damn all or next to nothing in taxes, and it's still angering a lot of people. People are talking that, hey, if we had a fair slice of the cake with these taxes, we could invest in our country. It's a small country, 4 million people. Imagine what we could do with 20 billion. It would be amazing. Would. So here's some more examples. Since profits are higher this year, the workers feel they deserve a bigger slice of the cake. The workers feel they should have a raise, or at least a better bonus. Everyone should have a fair slice of the cake. The company plans to acquire new businesses to grab a bigger piece of the pie. So some people say cake, some people say pie. I like to say cake. When people see others getting pay raises, they want a slice of the pie. You know, I've started working for myself recently, and I love it. I'm a very generous employer. I treat myself very well. I don't like working for other people because you never get a fair slice of the cake. You never get what you should. You never get what you deserve. You know, it's like you do all the work and you get paid nothing. However, your manager or your boss, they might roll up in a Tesla. And that's fine. They can buy a Tesla. Let them. I'm not saying give me your Tesla. But I'm saying give me a fair slice of the cake because I'm busting my balls for you. Why should I work so hard when I'm getting crumbs? I'm not even getting a slice of the cake. Another example, everyone was furious when the funding for mental health services was cut. It's ridiculous. Mental health organizations should receive a bigger slice of the cake. There were protests when the government announced plans to cut their funding by half but raise their own salaries. All they wanted was a fair piece of the cake. In this example, the cake is the money the government allocates to different areas. So right now they're talking about defunding the police. And defunding the police is basically taking money from the police and investing it in other services such as mental health or just healthcare in general or education or crime prevention instead of crime reaction. And all these organizations are saying, well, you're giving the police such a big slice of the cake, like the majority of the cake, the majority of taxpayers' money, the majority of the budget goes to the police. Well, let's give the police a smaller slice of the cake and give everyone else a bigger slice of the cake. If you feel that you are entitled to a bigger share or slice of the cake, go ask for a raise. I know, excuse me, asking for a raise is never easy. But if you do, you might get a bigger slice of the cake. So there you go, folks. A slice of the cake. And if you want a slice of the cake, if you want a bigger slice of the cake, you want more money. You want more of what is being developed, for example. If you're working for a company and they're making huge profits, you might say, you know what, I want a bigger slice of the cake or I'm out of here. There is no actual cake. Let's not get ahead of ourselves and let's not get excited. It's not cheesecake. It's not any other type of cake. The cake is the profit. The cake is the portion or benefit from something. So overall, my name's Ronan, and I decided to start working for myself because I don't want a bigger slice of the cake. I want the entire fucking cake. There you go, folks. A slice or share of the cake. Almost a perfect ending. And that's it for today. So, 2 idiomatic expressions related to cake. Now, if you actually want to remember them, if you really want to challenge yourself, try to make a couple of sentences with those 2 expressions. As I said earlier, can you think of something that is a piece of cake for you? And can you think of something that is not a piece of cake for you? Can you think of something that was a piece of cake for you when you were younger, but now it is certainly not a piece of cake? And can you think of a time when you wanted a larger share of the cake? Can you think of a time when you asked for a larger slice of the cake? How did it go? Do you have any advice for a person who wants a larger share of the cake in the place that they work? This is how you can improve your English. Don't just turn this off and do nothing. Think about it. Write about it. And that's it for today. My name's Ronan. This is English on the Road, and I hope you learned something. Have a good one, folks.